I am so happy to finally finish this series, because I will not acknowledge the existence of the books after this. Hey guys, it's me, Savannah. Today I am going to do a book review of The One, and it's actually a positive book review for once. I do have a lot of criticisms, more than things I liked, but I overall really liked this book. Since it's the third one in the series, you've probably, if you're watching this, you probably have read the other two, so I'm not going to explain a ton of stuff that you should know just because you've read the other two books. But in a dystopian, I wouldn't call it dystopian because it focuses so much on the romance that all of the political stuff is like not really mentioned, or it kind of takes a back seat, or it props up the romance. But basically it's The Bachelor, but with kings and princes. Yeah, that's a accurate way to describe it. I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. So it's basically, you know, The Bachelor. That's how it's branded, and that's how, and it's accurate. It's not like other books where they like brand it this way and it's not really that. No, that's an accurate representation of the book. So I'm just gonna jump right in into what this book was dealing with. So this is the third in the series. I really like how the main character's name is America, and each book is like red, white, and blue, you know, or blue, red, and white. I really like that just because it's aesthetically pleasing and it fits the story on my shelf. So I have my notes here, so if I'm looking down, I'm just looking at my notes. I'm gonna go character by character, and then I'm gonna explain my overall feelings. Aspen in this book, yikes. Yikes, my guy. His relationship with America is so weird to me. And I really liked The Elite. I think that this one and The Elite are like my favorite. I think if I had to choose, I might choose The Elite, which is the second book in the series. Just because their relationship's just weird. Like, if you are America and you're going into this competition where your whole life for you and your family will drastically be better, and you're just kind of having this weird relationship with this other dude, and I know that she cut it off, but it still was dishonest, and it did blow up for her later. It just felt really weird, like how they would just talk to each other, because in Elite and in the Selection, like the first two books, they seem like all they did was make out. Like, it didn't seem like America would always say how like emotionally connected she was to Aspen, but I was like, where and why, sweetie? Because I don't understand. Like, I don't understand what you're saying, because it seems like all you do is make out, and I don't understand. So anyway, I had a problem with that, and I didn't understand why there wasn't more hostility, because, you know, the beans, the tea are spilled, and America, Maxon, just, like, Maxon finds out about their thing, not through America, but through, like, an accident when he's walking with, Chris somewhere, and I'm just like, bro, why didn't you just tell him at the start? Because honestly, I feel like he would have understood, because he's basically, like, dating 35 girls at the start, and you dating one other dude. I know there was a whole thing with, I think, Marlee, where, like, this girl got kicked off. I don't know if she was caned or not, but, like, because she had a thing with the guard. Honestly, why is it that big of a deal? Because he's literally doing the same thing, but since he's the prince, I guess he's excused from that behavior. I don't know. I have mixed feelings, just because she liked Maxon, or was starting to, and then she cut things off, but then she really didn't. Like, let's be real. America didn't really cut things off with Aspen, because she's like, oh yeah, such a big place in my heart. It's like, honey, make a decision. I think throughout this book, America just needs to make a decision. Just God, because I understand that Maxon is making a decision as well, but he's making a decision about who his wife is going to be. And I get that America, if she chooses Maxon, is basically saying, I want to marry you. That's a big decision. But at the same time, like, if you're thinking smart and you want a better life for your family, why don't you just marry Maxon purely out of that? And, like, he's nice to you. Like, you might like Aspen more, but at the same time, like, bro, you get to live in a palace. You never have to worry about your next meal. You can affect change countrywide. Sweetie, just make the right decision. Like, God. It took her long enough. It took her 3 books to figure this out. I feel like she gets a pass in the first book because she's like, I'm just here for the free food, man. But at the same time, I think the whole character arc of America is kind of weird, but I'll get into that later when I'm talking more about her. I think the ending with Lucy, like, how he's and her end up together, and it kind of completed the story arc for Aspen, but I don't understand where he started from, because he seemed pretty, like, stubborn throughout the whole thing. And it's like there's an illusion of a character arc, and that's how I felt about every single character. There was, like, an illusion. Like, there was a character arc, but at the same time, there kind of wasn't, because of how, not subtle, but just out of the... It's not even out of the blue. It's not out of the blue, and it's not subtle. It's just kind of murky, if that's the right way to put it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of weird. Maxon! Again, rigid character development. In the first book, I felt like he was a child. Like, he was actually a child. And it felt weird that this child was dating America, because America acts her age, but Maxon is so, like, naive, and the way he talks, like, he says, my dear, and in my head, when I'm reading it, it just sounds, like, super cringy, and I'm just like, bro, you need better moves than that. Like, what's going on here? So, did no one teach you how to be sly or be slick? Guess not. And I thought that Maxon from book 1 to book 2 is like night and day. It's like, who is this man? Because I just read about the boy for 300 pages. Now you're talking about a man who's like, and in here they do, like, whatever, the devil's tango. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Going from childish to sexy in such, like, from one book to another, it's just, like, it felt weird. It just felt weird. I mean, I didn't mind in this book because, you know, this book is so far away from this selection. You know, we're 2 books from that, but at the same time, it's, like, just weird. I feel like in this book, Maxon is still naive to everything that's going on. Like, he's still, like, when he was talking to America about how he probably wouldn't have come up with the cast thing, like, getting rid of them on his own, it's just like, bro, I don't understand that. Like, it seems like it's common sense that the casts are bad. I get why King Clarkson, he's like, you know, the villain, the bad guy, or whatever. But, like, isn't it common sense that the casts are bad? Like, I don't think it's a rich people, poor people thing. I think it's just, if you're in the government and you don't have this kind of power complex or whatever, or superiority complex in your mind, like, Maxon doesn't have that. So wouldn't he know that it's common sense that the casts are bad? Like, I don't get why America saying there shouldn't be any casts is, like, so revolutionary, because I feel like everyone who's not, like, in the upper caste would be, like, on board. And they are. I get that they say that in the book, but if you're Maxon, I feel like you would have come to that conclusion on your own, and you don't need America. But we have to give America redeeming qualities because she doesn't have that many, so just saying. I think Maxon and, I was about to say Aspen. Maxon and Aspen. No, that's not what I'm saying. Maxon and, America, they're cute, but they're kind of weird in terms of their mismatch. You know, they're very opposite. in my opinion. Maxon's type of confidence and America's kind of confidence are two different things. They're two completely different kinds. It's just kind of weird. Like, the whole writing and the characters just kind of, it doesn't flow. You know what I mean? It just doesn't flow. But I ship it. I'm happy it happened. We all knew it was going to happen. I think the cover of this book just spoils it right from the get-go. I know that we already know that she wins, because then what's the point of reading this book? There's like a slight second where you're like, oh no, Chris is going to get it because America was a dingus and didn't tell Maxon about her and Aspen's relationship, but we all knew that that was just kind of there, and then there's the rebel attack, and then somehow that kind of solved everything. And I'm like, bro, your parents died, and you're like, oh, I love you so much, America. Like, the deaths in this book just didn't faze anyone. America's dad dies. It doesn't even talk about her, like, sobbing. I think it said it once. If your dad died, and you're saying you had such a huge connection with him in the first place, like, wouldn't that hit you a little bit harder than just, like, crying once or whatever? I just don't understand. The weird plot points that came into this book were very abrupt, like how we learned about, like, how the star tattoo has to do with, like, the Northern rebels, and how America's dad was a rebel. Like, bro, like, that came so much, like, I think that was predictable, but in the story, like, wouldn't you already have your suspicions? Like, it wasn't developed. Like, I feel like it came, Kiera Cass came up with this while she was writing this book, not when she was writing the selection, which is kind of, you know, not great writing. And then when Maxon is talking to America about, like, delivering the news, he's just like, I'm sorry I have to tell you this, your dad died. Like, what the like, that's not sensitive at all. And first of all, that's supposed to be, like, his, like, number one characteristic is that he's a sensitive person. Like, I feel like that's, like, everything that's wrong and right about Maxon stems from his sensitivity to other people. And he just says straight out, your dad's dead. Like, sorry, man. Like, what? I'm gonna talk about America now, because I don't understand. I don't understand. For America, again, a weird story arc where she seemed stubborn, and then over the course of the book, she was, like, more open to, like, saying, I deserve this life, because we're supposed, as the audience, we're supposed to buy that she felt like she didn't deserve this life, so that's why she didn't, like, pursue Maxon, when it's like, no, honey, you just liked Aspen. You know, I don't think that has to do with what you deserve in some aspects. I think there's a lot, because I buy that, like, I understand where the author's coming from when they say, like, you know, she didn't feel like she deserved this life, and then she was finally able to, like, come to terms with that she deserved it, because I think we all relate to that. Like, we, you know, we date the people we think we deserve, we go after the lives that we think we deserve, but at the same time, like, there wasn't a lot of development around that. Like, if that was one of the focuses for this book, I think this book would have been so much better if she was all about, like, self-discovery, and how, and her relationship with Maxon was a product of the self-discovery. It wasn't, like, something within completely. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why that theme wasn't the forefront of the novel. Again, I feel like that came out just for this book. I don't feel like that was an overarching theme, but it was supposed, that's where I'm coming from with, like, the illusion of a character arc, because it feels like that was supposed to be in there the whole time, but it wasn't. Also, America contradicts herself a lot. One prime example is when the whole jewelry thing happened, where she gave, like, she's like, when Maxon gives her the jewelry for, like, the convicting ceremony or whatever, and she puts it on, she's like, I'm never gonna give this to anyone, even if I'm, like, poor and starving, or my family's poor and starving. It's like, honey, if your family's poor and starving, you would sell that jewelry. Don't play with me. And then, but that's not what she said. Okay? That's not what she said. And then she goes to the convicting, and then we just forget that she said that, and she gives it to the guy who stole clothes for his kids. And it's like, and he was going to jail for life, and it's like, damn, bruh. Like, I'd rather be caned than go to jail for life. Like, damn. But it was just, she wasn't methodical at all, because I don't think she was thinking, like, politically, or thinking about more than her feelings, which bothers me, because it's like, girl, you gotta do what you gotta do. If I was in this game, I would be pulling out all the stops. I wouldn't be Celeste, but I wouldn't be like America, who just kind of throws it, like, doesn't seem to think everything she does through, and that never really got resolved. Like, that's just who she is, but she never, like, tries to fix that part of herself where she's so impulsive. Oh my god, like, girl, calm down. So, excuse me. So I just don't really get that. I've said that a lot in this review, where there's just a lot of things I just don't understand why they weren't further developed, or why America or Maxon or any of the characters was like, there wasn't like a planned development, or the development just wasn't there. I'm just not here for it. It just came off as irresponsible. Like, it wasn't even a character trait at some times. It was just irresponsible. Like, if you want to be with Maxon, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I understand that the jewelry thing was part of that, but I mean, I don't think the jewelry cost as much as those clothes. I think you could have just given him, like, your bracelet or your necklace and just called it good. Like, clothes aren't that much money, you know? Like, I know that I don't know how much clothes costs in this universe, but I'm pretty sure they don't cost, like, thousands of dollars for children's clothes. Like, I don't understand. So, another death that was in this book that no one really acknowledged was Celeste, bruh. Celeste. Okay, I liked Celeste in this book because I feel like, again, there was an illusion of a character arc, but at the same time, like, I liked where it was going. I liked what it tried to do, where she was apologizing to people, and she seemed, like, pretty heartfelt about it. Like, I liked that. Like, that made me feel warm and fuzzy, you know? Her character arc made a lot of sense, and then she dies. She dies. Like, and we don't even acknowledge, really, in the epilogue or in the other chapters about after she dies, that she, like, died, like brutally. Like, she died from a bullet in her head. Like, if you were shot in the head, like, they act as if, like, she just disappeared and never came back. Nope. She was murdered in front of you. like, does that not faze you at all? And then the other two deaths that I can remember, Queen Amberly and King Clarkson. And then I think one of her maids died, so I guess that's 3 more. Like, I'm just not... Queen Amberly, like, she came off, like, the worst in this book. Because in the previous 2 books, she came off as someone who was, like, you know, she kind of was more laid back, like, she took the back seat with King Clarkson and his stuff, but she wasn't weak. She didn't present the idea as weak. Like, she chose to take a back seat. In this book, it seemed like she was just a meek little mouse. You know what I mean? And I don't vibe with it, because it doesn't really go with the past books. And that also ruins a lot of other scenes, because the way they described her was just weak. Like, she came off as weak in the worst possible way in this book, and I don't understand why Kiera Cass decided to do that, because she should be like a strong female presence, like Martha Stewart, but a queen. Like, that's how I thought she would be portrayed, and in this book she wasn't, because Martha Stewart, she doesn't take shit from no one, and Queen Amberly was just taking it from everyone and just not saying anything. And even when America was talking to her about, like, what she wanted to do, like, on screen, like, for the convicting, she was stern, but she wasn't, like, firm. Like, she wasn't, like, whenever she was talking, I just couldn't take her seriously, because, like, you don't stand up for yourself. Like, who are you to tell America what to do when you can't even stand up to your own husband? Like, I don't understand. So, King Clarkson, we need to talk about him. He's not that bad. In this book, he's not written that bad. As bad. Because I know that they try, like, in these books, they try and depict Maxon as being, like, some, I don't want to say heroic, because that's not the right word, but they try and, like, act as if he's super strong for taking these, like, whippings or whatever, with the belt or with the, I don't even know what he used, but, like, that's not that bad, considering that people get caned for stealing, people get, like, abused, basically, if they do anything wrong. The lower castes, are starving. Like, that's not, in comparison, if you live in the castle, you never have to worry about food, never have to worry about your clothes, never have to worry about, like, anything, except maybe being murdered by, like, an ambassador, but we don't talk about that, because anyone from any caste can get murdered by rebels. That's not, a caste hierarchy thing, but, like, if you compare his struggle to his people, it's just not that big of a deal. Like, if I was getting whipped, by, I guess if I was the princess, that would be my mom. My mom was, like, whipping me. Like, my future is very bright, and I'm stupid rich, and I'm kind of born famous. I have everything I want. If it takes a whipping to maintain that, I just don't think that that's that big of a deal. That's just me. Like, I get that it hurts, I get that there's scars, but at the same time, I don't feel like it's this huge thing that, I just feel like they blew it out of proportion. I just don't feel like that's that big of a deal in comparison to what the people have to deal with, on a daily basis. Because he doesn't get whipped on a daily basis. Like, I just don't understand. Okay, that's the end of my notes for the characters. And now I want to talk about, overall, how I felt about the writing and how I felt about, the plot and all that. This book felt too fluffy, but I think that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fluffy, it's supposed to be, nice and, kind of a relaxed book. It's not supposed to be Game of Thrones, you know what I mean? Like, it's focused on the romance. It's like The Bachelor as a book dystopian for teenagers, It's not supposed to be dark, so I kind of give it a pass, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of things in the writing that could have just been done better. And I know that's little things, like, there are certain things that I have, tabbed. I'm not going to go through them, but the way the author describes characters or scenes or whatever really, I think, shapes this book because it adds up, saying, because you can say that something happened a million different ways, but how you describe it shapes the perception of the reader. And I feel like for this book, it could have been slightly more well thought out. It could have been not darker, but taken more seriously. Like, I feel like there was a lot more at stake than the writing acknowledged. And the tone of this book was kind of all over the place because there were certain things that we were supposed to, like, think were serious, but that I just didn't think were serious, and then other things that were serious weren't given enough seriousness by the writing. And I think that's really important, because all these little descriptors of whatever, of any scene, they matter. They add to the whole perception of the story for the reader, me, and anyone who's read it. And it kind of bothered me because there were little things that needed to be done that could have changed the whole, like, mood and tone of the book, and they just weren't there. And that's what separates this from a 4 from a 5 star, is that those little things didn't happen, and there were a lot of annoying things that happened where it just felt kind of, it lacked depth. And I think you don't have to have a dark fantasy or have it be all like moody and scary. No, you can have it have depth with, and have it still be fluffy, you know? Because I think this should have been more soap opera-y, because in soap operas it's very serious in terms of the tone. It's like, oh, the romance is like the most important thing in these people's lives, but this book wasn't like that. It was just kind of pure fluff, and I think I would have liked it if it was a little bit less fluff, but at the same time I don't think that's what was meant to be accomplished. So yeah, that's all I got. For the writing, the plot was fine. There's not really a plot. It's about a romance. You know, it's not really about the politics or whatever. The characters, I already talked about them. I think that's all I got. Alright. I will see all of you guys in the next one. If you made it this far, you're a cool dude. I will see you later. Alright, bye guys.